What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today I want to talk about the weekly update, and frankly, I think it's one of the more interesting updates we've gotten from Bungie since the Taken King. So, Bungie was really on its heels after the announcement of the SRL at the PlayStation Experience. People were not upset to see the Sparrow Racing League as much as they were upset not to see future DLC for Destiny, or at least hear that it was coming. So, I don't think that Bungie really expected to see this outcry over the absence of news about future DLC, so that put them back on their heels a little bit. So today, Eric Osborne, or better known as Irk McGurk, got out there on the weekly update and gave us a little peek at the future of Destiny. The main thing he said is this, I'm going to quote here: "The first of these early 2016 experiences will be on a scale close to Festival of the Lost. The second will be far larger than anything we've seen since the release of the Taken King. There's also another significant update to the world and sandbox planned in the same window." All right, so I find this to be actually a really interesting statement. Early in 2016, that's probably sometime in winter or spring of 2016, we're going to see another event similar to Festival of the Lost, which, wasn't that big, but was fun in its own way. But then we're going to get a larger thing. It's not going to be as big as the Taken King, but it's going to be bigger than Festival of the Lost. Now, that leaves them a lot of wiggle room. There's a huge difference in how big those two pieces of content are. But what would fit directly in there is something the size of, let's say, a Dark Below or a House of Wolves. So it'd be really exciting to see a new DLC on its way. And this, to be honest with you, is the most communication we've had about that kind of thing since really the Taken King came out. So I'm actually really excited to hear this. I'm glad that Bungie is out there talking about future plans, because I think a lot of Destiny players, they're reaching their end of the playtime with the Taken King content, and they're looking for that next big thing. They don't want to get a big content gap like we had last year between the Dark Below and the House of Wolves. So, this is good news. The fact that we're definitely going to get something along the lines of Festival of the Lost, that's fine, that's okay. It's not really big content. But the fact that there's new DLC coming, that's huge news. It was something that Bungie players, Destiny players, just didn't know if it was coming or not. And I think this kind of says, yes, it is coming. We're not ready to announce what it is or how big it is, but it is coming, and I think that's great news. It's great news for fans of Destiny, and I think it's good that Bungie is getting out front of that, because I think a lot of people were getting really pissed off that we hadn't heard anything. The next thing I want to talk about today is that there were a lot of questions raised over the differences between the patch notes for Update 2.1, the weapon update, and the actual data we could see in game. So they actually brought John Wisniewski out for the weekly update, and he basically had an apology about this, and he posted a corrected set of patch notes that look a lot more like what we're seeing in games. The patch notes are vastly different in certain areas, particularly with auto rifles. So with the original set of patch notes that we saw, for a month leading up to Update 2.0, or 2.1, sorry, we saw that low rate of fire, medium rate of fire, and high rate of fire auto rifles were getting big buffs. Apparently this wasn't the case. It was a miscommunication between the people who write the code and John Wisniewski, and just nobody caught it for a month, which is a little crazy. But, if you know how corporations work, it's not that surprising. So low rate of fire auto rifles only got a 0.30% buff. And it kind of goes on from there. Medium rate of fire got a 0.78. And high rate of fire actually got a 0.04% increase. So, these are very small and subtle changes, but he goes on to explain that, because you can't measure them by seeing the numbers pop up on screen when you're shooting somebody, that doesn't mean it's not effective. And I can say, with the nerf of pulse rifles inside the Crucible, auto rifles definitely feel a lot more powerful than they have in the past. So I think this one's a little bit embarrassing for Bungie. They were out there for a month putting out the wrong numbers. Nobody noticed. and now they kind of have to eat crow. I will say, I like what they've come up with. I don't really care if the patch notes were wrong. In my opinion, this is one of the most balanced weapon updates or, weapon metas that we've had. Now, obviously, it's only 48 hours old. We'll have to see. In the future, it may turn out that some guns are completely overpowered compared to other guns. But right now, initially, it feels really good. It feels really fun, and I'm loving using auto rifles again because they really haven't been all that useful for a long time. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Big changes. I'm really excited to hear that there is a future of Destiny in year 2, that we will be seeing a bigger content release, a bigger DLC style content release in year 2, and I'm glad that Bungie sees that. We're worried. We're worried that there isn't going to be anything to play in 2016 until Destiny 2, and they're addressing this. So I gotta say, I feel just relieved about this weekly update. It just makes me feel better about Bungie and Destiny in whole. So that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.